What's up, you guys, and welcome back to the second episode of the Party Wagon Podcast, where we talk about all things Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the past, present, and future. I'm Eric from the YouTube channel No You Grow Up.
And I'm Brendan from the YouTube channel Brendan's Rambles. Today, we have a lot of toy talk to do, but before we get into all that, what have you been up to, Eric?
Not a lot, so just really working hard on trying to get all this stuff done for the podcast. So I knew it was going to be really daunting, and it is even more daunting than I thought it was going to be. So just editing two different versions, an audio version and a video version, is just taking up a lot of time and cutting up clips like that, and then just figuring out how to distribute all that stuff. But probably going to get back to making a couple YouTube videos and stuff like that this weekend. I want to do my opening for all my non-Turtles related figures and stuff like that. And then I also just got the not Leo figure. So I'm pretty excited to open him up, and I'm definitely going to do a review on that one. That figure's just gotten a ton of hype, and so many people called it figure of the year that I just couldn't not pick it up. So I'm very interested to see what that figure is all about. But what about you, man? What have you been up to?
Well, I feel bad because I haven't been doing as much for the podcast. You do all the editing.
You did a lot of work. You did a lot of work beforehand. So like I said, I felt like fucking Affleck before this started. So
yeah, well, I mean, now you're editing all these clips, and I'm just taking the exact same clips and uploading them to my channel. So
there are clips, man. I'm doing it for us. Like I said, you did a lot of stuff before we started, so I feel like this is how I'm kind of paying you back for all that hard work you did in the beginning.
Well, I've been working. I haven't been working as much on, I plan to get some videos out. I haven't been working as much on stuff for the podcast because you've been covering all that. But I've recorded a video, top 10 Turtles figures of the year. I'll get that up soon. It'll be up by the time this podcast comes out. And I want to do one on top 10 Nintendo games at some point. So, I'm gonna have some content finally coming again at some point, other than just toy hauls. Mostly working on the game still. Don't remember if I mentioned this last time. I got my first music tracks finally done for the game. I'm really just trying to go full speed ahead and just really get the coding that needs to be done to get the trailer gameplay footage ready. Because I just want to get this thing out there, man. Man. It's about damn time. So yeah. Hopefully, definitely before 2023 is over, that game is going to be known on the internet. People will be able to know. I don't know if they'll see it.
So you think it is going to come out this year? Or at least the game is off this year?
The game is not coming out this year, but the trailer is definitely going to come out this year. I've said that 2 years before, but this year it's so close. It's like there's really no reason why it can't be done yet. I just need someone to just get the coding that needs to be done. Most of it's already done. Get the extra little tweaks to the gameplay and stuff that need to be done. A few more enemies and stuff, so I can just show off the gameplay scenes I want to show off. Yeah, as soon as that's out, you're going to hear about it here. You're going to get a link here.
We're going to blow it up everywhere. We're going to plug it. I'm plugging this podcast. So
I thought up this thing in 2010. I've been working on it nonstop since 2018 or 2017, really. There is no way in hell I'm not plugging the hell out of this game any way I can. So, whether you guys
what I was doing back in 2010,
I wasn't doing anything, but I was thinking this thing up and kicking it around in my head for 7 years. Yeah, whether you guys like it or not, you're going to hear about this damn game. Yeah, other than that, really just it's been a lot, I guess, with the podcast happening and still want to do YouTube videos and just doing artwork and working on the game and everything. It's just my schedule's a little more crowded than it was before, but I can manage it, and it's all fun stuff at the end of the day. So if you have a plate full of work, it's a lot better if it's fun, creative work as opposed to fixing someone's plumbing. So there's good work to have and there's bad work to have. So I can't complain too much. So
that's kind of, so I just had a 15-day vacation, and I probably worked harder in that 15 days than I ever have at any job ever. Sorry, Ben. And it just, when I'm passionate about something, I don't know, man, I just get this fire in me and I just want to go. I definitely get in a manic state. Like I said, man, I really want to get this going. I'm just really excited about it. And I had a blast doing the last one and really excited to do the second episode.
Yeah, me too, man. I've been looking forward to this. This is just fun. It's like I said, it's technically more work, but it's kind of not. It's just hanging out and shooting the shit with a friend. So it's
this is the easy part. Exactly.
I just do the easy part.
Because again, it's all the post-production is where the work kind of comes in. I mean, we did a ton of work beforehand to get ready and stuff like that. But now that I kind of got all the logistics and stuff figured out for how to get it distributed, everything is going to run a lot more smooth. So I'm just really excited to get this out there so as many people can see it as possible. Because I just think it's fun, man. I think everybody that's listened to it is just just giving me such good feedback, and it's just been so awesome to hear. Like, I don't know, just even people that aren't super into turtles just seem to like our back and forth and stuff like that. So again, just cool to hear that. I don't know, I'm just really happy with how that first episode went.
Like I said, like I told you, I live in New Jersey where people aren't so nice. So I don't think any of my friends and family are really going to listen to this podcast.
Yeah,
definitely not my family. They're not going to listen.
Yeah, so like I always thought like the Midwest hospitality thing was kind of bullshit because I mean I know a lot of assholes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But my family and friends are very supportive. So
you don't know assholes until you live in New Jersey. I mean, I guess unless you live in New York, then you're like, dude, you think New Jersey is bad? Like, yeah. But anyway, so I guess let's just dive right into it. We've got a lot of toy news that has come out recently. And, the meat of this video is going to be us discussing Super7, the good, the bad, the ugly. There's been a lot of other toy news that has come out. Just like this, when this comes up, it'll be about 2 weeks, old, this news. But for right now, this news kind of just hit a lot of it. The one I want to get into first is, so we talked about the McFarlane toys for the Mutant Mayhem Seth Rogen movie last time. And now physical toys have leaked for this movie, but they don't appear to be McFarlane.
No, I'm not sure who's making them. It's hard to, they're kind of blurry pictures, so you can't really make out who's making them, but it doesn't really look like a McFarlane logo, and it doesn't really look like a Playmates logo either.
No.
So I'm very thrown off. Like, for anything to leak, it's kind of surprising that it was these figures, because honestly, they're not even really figures. They're kind of something else, it looks like.
Yeah, like I was saying, because we were looking at them before we started this, and I'm like, well, I was noticing the thing with the two fingers on them. Like, they seem like tech decks. Like, yeah. They seem like almost
it looks like a controller. So I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's gonna like mimic what you're doing with your fingers. Are you gonna be able to make it pop and ollie and stuff like that? Like, it seems like it might be a little bit more than just a regular remote control vehicle, but there definitely seems to be some sort of remote control component to it.
Yeah, I think you play with your fingers. The thing I'm wondering though is like if you plant a turtle on top of that, how the hell do you put your fingers there like a tech deck?
I think it's two separate things. So I think there's the toy, and then I think there's that tech deck thing as the controller, and I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of touch. You can't see what I'm doing with my hands in this pan here, but I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of touch. So like I said, I don't know if you pop on the controller, if it'll make the toy pop like you would a tech deck. That's kind of what it looks like to me.
Unless maybe we're making it sound way cooler and it's just like,
right?
It might just be fuzzy sound effects from the movie. Like, cowabunga or something when you press
it. That's the other thing, exactly. Anytime you get to stick your finger through the back, it usually is to make it say something stupid like that.
It's got to be better than the vintage talking turtles, that's for sure. Because
that's the one thing. I haven't heard one of those talk in a long time. Do you have any of them?
I have Michelangelo, but I don't have the talking strips. He has his weapons, but he doesn't have the strips. I had them as a kid, but I can't even say I heard them talk because I put the strips through them fast. I put them through slow. It was just when I put like I couldn't hear shit when I put those strips through them. So.
And that's the thing. I don't remember even what they sounded like. I can't remember if they were bad or good. That's something that just has been omitted from my memory. I can't even think of what they sound like anymore.
I got them like brand new. I remember I was in Vermont staying at my grandparents' house. My brother and I both got them. I want to say it was Raph and Mike were the first ones we got. We had all of them, but I think Raph and Mike were the first ones we got. We might have got all of them all at once, actually. But we tried them out at home. And no, because we definitely had Don early on. So I think we got all four of them right away. We tried doing it, and we're trying to get it through, and it's just like, and we're kind of like, what is this? And I remember my mom, my grandma came in. They're like, what, you can't get those working? And they started saying, like, you probably have to put them through faster. And you put it through, and it's like, so it's like, we like all of us, like four of me and my brother, my mom, and my grandma just kept putting them through at different speeds, different ways. And we just couldn't get them to tallike. And it was like, they were just making.
You sure you weren't putting them through backwards?
We tried flipping them and upside down and right. It just sounded like they were like possessed, and fucking Beelzebub was like talking to us in some old like Latin freaking. it was like like they didn't. When they're supposed to be saying like cowabunga, shred head or something, right. Or like, but it didn't sound anything like that, like pizza time or something, and it just sounded like a bunch of gurgled demon stuff. So other people say they got them to work. Other people said that they sounded remarkably good for such weird technology, but my experience was like they didn't sound like anything. But anyway, these new ones probably just talk, and I don't know if do you think the turtles come off the skateboards, or do you think they're permanently attached to the skateboards?
I would guess they probably peg on, but again, if it's something that can actually like pop and ollie and do stuff like that, maybe they are attached so they don't fall out. Because they definitely don't look like they'd be too fun on their own, because they look like they're 5 POA and they're kind of, they just don't look like they're really positioned that fun either. You know what I mean? They look like they're meant to be riding a skateboard, and that's about it.
They're essentially just larger reaction figures.
Yeah, squatted down in that skater pose.
The thing that makes me think that they do pop off the skateboards, though, is the fact that they have leg articulation. I feel like if they were meant to just be mounted on the skateboard, they wouldn't put leg articulation on them.
Yep, there would be no point to put a hip, because again, it looks like it's just like a swivel or something. It doesn't even look like a hinge or anything, but that makes sense. Then yeah, they wouldn't put that in there. So it definitely probably does come off, but I'm assuming it's going to be real limited play with those things.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But for the designs, this is our first look. This isn't like leaked concept art. So last year we got concept art. I did a whole video about that on my channel last year, and I didn't like a lot of them. I thought Raph and Leo looked the best. Leo was the best looking, but I thought Raph looked okay. Don was atrocious, and Mike, I hated Mike's design in that concept artwork. I have to say, Don, he's not the best, but he looks a lot better than the concept artwork. In the action figure. In the concept artwork, he had like a buck tooth like sticking out on the side of his head. It wasn't even like a nerd, like, because they're trying to make him look like a stereotypical nerd. And it's like they always have to give him the Buddy Holly glasses, the black frame glasses now. Right. But then like the buck tooth just seemed like Seth Rogen like still thinks of nerds in like the 1970s Hollywood version of nerds. Like it's the nerd from Grease or something. And it's like that's kind of an old world way of thinking. Oh, he's smart. He has to have buck teeth and pimples and like so. But the thing is, on the side, it doesn't create like the middle would create more of the nerd look. The side is like
a snaggletooth.
Yeah, like a hermit, like hillbilly, like sits on he only has that one tooth just to open beer, and like he just sits there with his shotgun all day. Like that doesn't create the illusion that he's a nerd. It makes him look like a hillbilly, like stereotype or something. So I'm really glad that I can't see the tooth in the promo artwork. Hopefully it's gone. But Mike, I said to you, he has a hamburger head. His face is so wide. He looks like Mayor McCheese.
Mayor McCheese, exactly where my mind went when I saw him.
I remember because I told you like his head looked like a cheeseburger, and you're like, I didn't want to say that because I didn't think you would get the analogy, but it's exactly what you were thinking. It's funny. That was just where both of our minds went. And his head, it's just so wide. His eyes are like 2 feet apart, and it's like he's I don't know. He's just weird looking. He looks like Hey Arnold or something, and his head like we said Don's head's a little squat too. The Mike's is just so large. It's like twice the size of the other turtles' heads, and he's really skinny. And the thing I don't like about Raph is his torso is just like a rectangle. It's just a box. There's like no shape to it. But Raph looks pretty good. Leo definitely looks the best. He looks like
he looks great.
I don't want to say he looks just like the 87 cartoon. He looks like, do you remember in the 2012 cartoon, there was a crossover they did where the turtles from the 87 cartoon and Krang were in it. And they were in CG. He looks like how the 87 cartoon turtles looked in CG in the 2012 cartoon in the crossover. So they did like their own little kind of Turtles Forever thing. That's what he looks like to me, because the eyes were kind of dead in those ones. They kind of had dead eyes, and that's kind of how the toy looks. But Leo looks the best, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I say, he looks the closest to what all of us ultimately want. I mean, we know that's really what the case is, but it's like the thing with Mikey, I just hate that all these like tropes have developed, like with Raph, the skull cap, with Mikey, he's always the smallest one now, he's the runt. And again, they always kind of I know like the Michael Bay movies, like he just even looked more like Quasimodo than the rest of them did, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why Mike always just seems to get done dirty in these new iterations.
He does. And in the Michael Bay ones, he looked like crying Shrek or something. Like he had these like big blue watery eyes, but then like this monster ogre face. And it was just like, I remember I actually got a comment. I said that in my movie reviews that the turtles look like Shrek. I got this angry comment of someone saying like, Shrek is awesome. Saying they look like Shrek isn't an insult. And it's like, okay, Shrek looking like Shrek is fine.
Exactly.
the turtles shouldn't look like Shrek. Like I wasn't saying Shrek was, like not a good design. I was saying the turtles shouldn't look like Shrek. So I'm sorry for that one major Shrek fan I offended, but
you just never know who's out there.
Yeah,
you never know who's really in these niche fandoms. We think ours is small, but that Shrek killer freaking base is just real strong.
That guy must be happy right now. Like, oh man, they made Puss in Boots 2, Shrek 5. Come on, Shrek 5. Yeah, like I don't. Mikey always looks the worst. I even thought in the 2006 movie, I thought he was the ugliest design. Because again, he had kind of that wide eye thing. Like his eyes were really far apart. He had this really like toothy horse mouth, kind of. Like I don't know. He was just like, again, like Raph and Leo looked the best. Raph and Leo always look the best.
Yeah.
The way I can describe it, with like most of them is Raph and Leo always look the best. Donnie looks experimental. Like they were just trying new shit with him. And then Mikey just looks like a disaster. That's basically how it always goes now.
Again, because we're kind of getting back into those tropes. So I feel like whenever they design the turtles, they'll design Leo first and they just make him like the status quo normal. And then they'll go to like Raph and they're like, okay, we'll make him a little bit more bigger and jacked now. Mikey a little bit more runty. And then Donnie is just kind of all over the place. Like he's been tall and skinny. He's been a lot of different things. So I think it was the have you ever seen the Batman movie crossover?
Yep.
Yeah, dude. First of all, not to get deep into that, but that's like one of the raddest, like most slept on movies ever. Like the comics are awesome, but yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a scene that happens right off the bat, and I was like, damn, this is going to be a regular Ninja Turtles movie right here. Yeah, we're getting back to it.
Just real quick, the entrance of Shredder in that movie where they mimic the 1990 movie where he falls down in slow motion, and that's so cool. And then seeing Batman versus the Shredder was like a dream come true. It's like,
dude, I'm gonna watch that. This movie I haven't watched it in a while. It's definitely gonna happen.
And that's another topic for another time. But anyway, you were saying Donnie, they made him tall and skinny in there.
Oh yeah. So in that version, he was just like super tall and lanky and stuff like that. And again,
honestly, I hated his design in that movie. He didn't even look like a turtle anymore. He just looked like, I like that movie, but that Don design was just not working for me. Like he looked. Have you ever played the Neverhood or Skull Monkeys or
no?
Those claymation.
I know where you're going.
It's made by the same guy who made Earthworm Jim, and
I knew this
he's a claymation guy, but he has like
long, tall head.
Yeah, his name's Clayman, and he has like a tube for a head, and like these like that's what Don looked like to me. He looked like Clayman. So
yeah, because again, his head looked like a freaking like time lapse pillar, a time release pill is what it looks like. It was just so tall. Like that's the one instance where Mikey wasn't the worst design character. Because other than that, the other three turtles look pretty cool, and he's the only one that kind of has a weird design in that one.
I think Raph, they went a little overboard with trying to make him look like
he was real big,
like mean and nasty. Yeah, he looked cool, but I think actually in that one, Mike and Leo were the best looking ones. I think.
Yeah.
I'd say Mike and
Leo just looks the most normal. He always just looks the best. I just wish they all just kind of look like that. And again, if you want to differentiate them, go back to the color swaps. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why they all have to look different now. What's wrong with all four of them looking the same?
Yeah, I am all for usually like varied character design. It usually bores me when there's a cast of characters and they all look exactly the same. I never got into it. I'm not judging anybody who did. I know there's a lot of guys who did, but that last My Little Pony show, no interest. But every character was essentially the exact same thing. Like, because I saw at conventions, I'd see the characters everywhere. I'd see them in like merchandise, and it's like, this is the same damn template, just like copy and pasted, just like different color, different kind of hair, different ass tattoo, and that's like it. And it's like, so I can see how I grew up with the turtles, so I'm used to them looking the same, and I'm okay with it. But to be fair, I do think it's a little uncreative to have them look exactly the same. So I'm okay with a little bit of differences, maybe like different faces, maybe like. Raph might be a little beefier than the others. Yeah. Donnie might be a little skinnier and a little taller. But I don't need them looking so different that like you can't even tell they're like the same like brothers. Like it's like the Michael Bay ones. It's like I don't know. Like they just tried so hard. Right? Like Donatello had like a Super Nintendo controller on his arm and all this shit. And it's like they just had they were like wearing like just like every possession they owned on their body. Right. It's like Like they were just trying so hard to make them look unique. And it's like a lot. I mean, the most successful versions of the turtles are usually the ones where they look pretty simple, actually.
Yeah.
So,
and again, that's what that's just kind of what I just always like. Just keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? Just always works the best. Those original designs. And again, I know I'm never that person that's always going to be like, give me the 87 turtles again. I'm not going to like anything else. But like, again, I still have those turtles. New designs don't take those away from me, so it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just wish they would I feel like they're just overthinking it now. It seems like, not to get too far off track, but in the last podcast, you could have potentially just pissed off the Pokemon fandom. In this one, you might get the bronies coming after us. So we got to keep the other fandoms out of our mouth.
Bunch of bloodthirsty bronies are going to come after me. So I pissed off the Pokemon fan base and I pissed off the My Little Pony fan base. I'm just going to piss off every furry, I guess, by the time we're done with this podcast. But hey, we're talking about Ninja Turtles, so yeah. So I guess that's all I have to say about that. It's so weird that they're not McFarlane. So it's like, so what the hell is McFarlane doing? If like, how many companies are merchandising this new movie? It's all over the place. So,
and again, if this is like a radio control thing, I could see why it's going to like a more niche company. You know what I mean? Because again, I couldn't tell you who makes radio control vehicles or anything, but I guarantee you that's not technology McFarlane's sitting on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for something more like this with a play feature, I can understand it. And again, even though like I might just get one of these, I'm kind of interested in the play feature. I just kind of do want to check that out. But it's cool that they are trying something like that again, because again, even if it's not for us, that's the kind of shit that could get kids back into it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because that's like what sucked us in as kids with stupid play features. Like, look at, like you said, that talking turtle barely worked, but we still loved it. Like the pizzas tossing turtles, like everybody lost all their pizzas, but we still loved those. Like,
yeah. And like you said, you were going to say the sewer. There was the sewer launcher vehicle and all that stuff. There was crazy. There's a pizza launching vehicle, the retro catapult, like just crazy stuff. And I mean, the thing is, it's just still weird is I just don't get why Playmates isn't making these, because back in the day, I remember having so much turtle stuff, and most of it was made by Playmates, like a Leonardo Frisbee I had, and like, just all these like little like bath toys or like, little like walkie talkies. I didn't have all that stuff, but like they made all kinds. They made like a watch that like the Playmates made, like a turtle's watch and stuff. And it's like, have the resources to make all this, memorabilia. They don't make anything anymore. It's so weird.
That kind of has been their bread and butter, is just re-releasing stuff. But that is more of the stuff I would want as well. I would love it if they put out like the watches, the water bottles, like all that stupid crap again. Like I would eat that up. I would buy all that stuff. And again, like that is kind of the more stuff that I would be interested in. But it is just like we hit on very hard in our last episode, perplexing that like this just really seems like a time where Playmates could be just really dominating. And this kind of segues into what we're going to talk about next, because it looks like they're going to re-release some more 6-inch figures that were done in the old molds, but the Triceraton definitely looks like the same mold. But I feel like the Shredder that just got shown off kind of looks a little bit different. I don't know if there's different tooling going on, but he looks slightly better than the last one they put out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a deco thing, but actually, I just have to do just 1 second. You just mentioned water. You just mentioned water bottles. We're gonna keep this in.
You're fine.
I got this right here, so
Nice.
No one's going to see this on the audio podcast, but I got in 1987, I think it's 87 or 88, like water bottle. But anyway,
dude, that is awesome.
I got that at a thrift store for $1.
Oh, that's not from your childhood? That's sweet.
Oh, no. I had like I have a cup behind me that was from my childhood, but even that I had to re-get it. Like from the company Aladdin. They made like Mario thermoses and like, turtle cups and stuff. But yeah, so let's go into the new Playmate stuff you were talking about, the Shredder. I think I want to say it's just a paint job that's different. It's the same sculpt, because I hate to say this, but I don't really want to give Playmates more credit than they deserve. They probably didn't make a new sculpt. It's probably the same thing. They just did new deco, but maybe it's new. The Triceratops looks 100% like the same figure. I'm
positive that's the same one. It looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I compared even like the same colors in the same places and everything. Like it's definitely the same one. But the Triceratops was also brand new just last year or two. Whenever those 2-packs came out, it was brand new. So that might be a sign that they're planning to make a whole line out of these. And they're going to start doing, like Ace Duck and Mondo Gecko and all these characters like in this style. But I kind of wish they didn't, to be honest. I kind of wish they just started a fresh line in the style of the last Ronin figure they just made, rather than this line that nobody really likes expanding on it. Because, this is that same old line they've been retooling for a while where the turtles are like taller than Bebop and Rocksteady, and like Bebop and Rocksteady are just weirdly shaped. They don't look like the actual Bebop and Rocksteady. They're kind of weird. And like, it seems like they're trying to do more of the Toon thing, and NECA's already hitting, knocking that out of the park. So like Playmates is not going to do a better Toon line than NECA. No. So it's like, I kind of wish they did new takes on the classic characters in the style of the last Ronin figure they made.
And that's the direction I would want them to go to, because again, why try to do what companies like NECA and Super7, like the Playmates can't beat them. There's not a chance. That's just not what they do. Like, they make toys. NECA and Super7, we call them toys, but they're not toys. You know what I mean? It's something different. And with their 6-inch line too, that's the thing that drives me the most nuts, is the scale. I hate that the turtles are so much bigger than Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady and the Triceraton. Like, that's what almost bothers me about that line more than the actual sculpts and stuff themselves do. And if they do if they want to blow this line up and make it a 6-inch single pack line that it looks like they're about to try to do, again, like, I've pretty much refrained from buying all those 6-inch. I've bought the original ones that came out in like 2012 or whatever, and I've since sold them because, again, I hung on to them and they just didn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? I didn't look at them and I'm just like, these are just something I love having in my collection. Like, I just knew I could find something better to put on the wall than those.
I almost bought the Bebop and Rocksteady from that, but I'm like, I just don't like the way they look. Because at the time, we didn't have like, a Toon accurate Bebop and Rocksteady. Yeah. We didn't have Super7 Bebop and Rocksteady. That was like the first Bebop and Rocksteady figures we had since like the 90s. And my inner child was like, buy it. It's Bebop and Rocksteady. But I'm just looking at it, I'm like, it's not Bebop and Rocksteady though. Like, it's not. I think Rocksteady looks even worse. Like, he's got this really little head and like,
they're definitely a little bit more stylized. We talk about these figures in 2023, but they came out, at this point, was it like 2012? I don't even know when they did come out, but
I want to say it was around then.
Yeah, so at the time, there wasn't NECA like there is now. There wasn't Super7 like there is now. Like, it was the only thing, and it was a much different standard then, too. You know what I mean? So I guarantee if I would have saw those on the shelves now, if I would have saw them on the shelves in 2012, I would feel much different about those figures than I do now.
Absolutely. That's even like, I think Playmates themselves were the ones doing it. They tried to do like movie figures and then Secret of the Ooze movie figures and stuff back around like 2015, I want to say. Like, there's just no comparison to what NECA's made at this point. Yeah. Like, NECA's are just, they look like the Jim Henson suits just shrunken down, and you get to own it. It's like,
and again, not to go on a NECA tangent here, but those movie figures, I can't ever see those being improved on. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't ever imagine any movie figure is going to come out that's going to be like, I don't want these NECA figures anymore. Like, the original ones especially are a little stiff and the articulation isn't great. But as far as the sculpt and design goes, I think those are possibly some of the best action figures of all time.
I think so. Definitely I think, I'm always going to love the vintage line the most, but as far as just speaking objectively, I think those might be the best Ninja Turtle action figures ever made.
I think so too. That's the one. And again, since there's not as much volume as there in for the Toon line, it's one of the only lines that I've ever doubled up on, because like they are just, there's just something special about those figures. And I definitely haven't talked about them enough because I've been waiting to get the Secret of the Ooze figures so I could just go all in on everything at once. But I don't know, like, NECA just does something so special. Like, I don't know why Playmates even wants to try to do anything against them. Like, anyone with common sense should just say it's a terrible idea, especially when, again, we just keep coming back to this because it's definitely what they should be doing. Like, they should just do their niche thing and make 4.5-inch figures with updated articulation, and people would go apeshit for that.
Yeah, they would. I think they really would. I think That's the problem. Is I don't think I'm not NECA, Playmates. Unfortunately, I don't think they have the compassion for the brand, and I don't think they have the creativity for the brand anymore
I don't think they do.
to do their own thing. They're just seeing like, let's find an easier way to do what this company already did better. And it's like, no one's gonna buy that. Like, no one's looking for that. So I don't know. Yeah, it's like we touched on this last time, but like the Playmates, they gotta do something, because Ninja Turtles is their flagship franchise. Like, that is what put them on the map. That is what made them like huge in America. Then again, like we said last time, in the 90s, they did Earthworm Jim figures. They did, the Star Trek Next Generation figures. They did Toxic Crusaders. They did so many figures in the 90s, just all from the popularity of Ninja Turtles. Now it's like they're not doing anything. Like, at least like Mattel, they're always putting out Barbie. They're always putting out E-Man. They're always putting out Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels aren't going anywhere. So, Hot Wheels has done more with Ninja Turtles recently than Playmates has, and that's Mattel. So it's like, like Playmates just has to do something with Turtles, and I don't think these 6-inch figures is it. I don't think this is what they should be doing.
No, and like you said, I think you touched on something really. It's something I've thought about before too. I would be very interested to go to Playmates HQ and just see what's going on there right now, because in my head, I picture one lawyer sitting next to a phone, answering it and going, yes, you can sub-license our brand. And that's their whole company. Like, I can't imagine they have a ton of great sculptors with them right now. I can't imagine, like, because again, what the hell else is even out there? I can't tell you any Playmates toy that's out there that I can be like, okay, this is a modern toy that looks cool. You know what I mean? Because I think Turtles has to just be keeping them afloat, and they're just sitting on it because they know if they lose it, they have nothing, even if they're not doing what they should be doing with it. If Playmates loses Turtles, I think that's the end of Playmates.
I think so too, honestly. And I mean, we're living in a time where if they really do suffer enough with Turtles, where they do have to go bankrupt, they might end up just selling the entire license to NECA or somebody. And like NECA might be.
So here's the thing that worries me about that. My biggest fear is that Playmates goes under and Hasbro scoops the license. That is my biggest fear in the world, because, and again, I'm not going to say fear, because I don't want to be somebody that, I'm not pissed about toys. You know what I mean? Like, I just want good toys. I just want as many opportunities for new fun toys as possible.
This is the kind of shit that keeps me up at night.
Right? But I know you're not into Hasbro the way I am, but I buy a shitload of Hasbro action figures. And I mean, some lines like G.I. Joe are pretty good where they don't really have a lot of QC issues. But my Marvel Legends figures, I have, especially as of late, had a lot of QC issues and stuff like that. And that's just what worries me. Is, I don't know, I feel like Hasbro is a company that is just gonna keep trying to squeeze every penny, and their stuff's just gonna keep getting worse, and it's gonna keep costing more, and I would just hate to see Turtles go there.
I've heard a lot of complaints about QC issues with Marvel Legends from people, and I've heard a lot of complaints about the Power Rangers. Was a Lightning Collection, I believe, is like the. I've heard a lot of complaints about Lightning Collection from people who like them. They love what they're doing, but they don't like how they're doing it. Basically,
a lot of weird issues. And again, like Power Rangers it's probably one of the most niche things, I would say. Like, as far as the videos I watch, it definitely seems to have the least amount of attention on it and stuff like that. But again, for me, like, because I only collect the Mighty Morphin stuff, and I think they all look pretty good. I know, like, some of the helmets aren't accurate and stuff like that, but it is more so like that's a brand where they really care about Mighty Morphin, and everything else is kind of an afterthought. So with that community, the people that aren't the Mighty Morphin fans, they are constantly pissed because they do get the raw deal. Like, they definitely don't get as much attention, and their figures don't get as much attention to detail either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they should at least be happy they're getting them. The people who like 2003 Turtles, they're not getting shit right now. It's all for us right now. It's all for the OGs. So I have heard the Mighty Morphins, though. There's the more expensive monster figures that are bigger. And a lot of those, the paint deco is really half-assed. Like,
it's just lacking is what it is. Like, the sculpts look good. Those figures look really cool. Like, and again, I don't nitpick like most people do. You know what I mean? Like, I really do have more of a childlike sense about things where everything is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, not to that extent quite, but like the Eye Guy, for instance, like, he just needs a wash or something. He's just all white with eyes. Like he literally has no deco over that white. And that's
but
what
also
a lot of people...
like 80% of those pupils aren't even painted also.
No, exactly. It's just like, but again, that figure just, it has so much detailing in the sculpt that it probably, if a top tier company did that, that would be like $100 figure. You know what I mean? Like it has a lot of potential. And again, it's just too much to be doing for them right now. I feel like,
Pumpkin Wrapper, they didn't paint the eyes and the nose and the mouth and stuff.
He's my least favorite out of all of them so far, probably.
They didn't try, but then like Pudgy Pig, he looks great. Pudgy Pig came out really good, so it's a mixed bag. Pudgy Pig's a little simpler, I think, than Eye Guy. You know, painting like 100 individual eyeballs is a tall order. So
it's a lot. I mean, you feel him; he's just textured too. You know what I mean? Like it's like they're bubbled out. Like if he had a good wash, he would be one of the coolest figures for sure. But talking way too much about Power Rangers. Getting back to Turtles here.
King Sphinx that was lacking on the paint also. But anyway, so I guess the last thing for Turtles we'll talk about that has come out is the pre-order for the Mezco 1/12 scale figures went out on Big Bad Toy Store today, I believe, but you know, this is going to be not today by the time this goes
so this will actually be 3 weeks when we're recording. We're actually recording this one a week earlier than planned too, because I'm going to be busy next Wednesday. So this might be very old news at that time. But $400 for the lot just seems pretty steep. And that was the price point that I foresaw. Again, back to Power Rangers, they just put out the Power Rangers and they came in a little bit cheaper, I think. I know they weren't $100 a figure, and I just had a feeling that the Turtles were going to come out $100 a figure. And are you familiar with Mezco as a line?
I know of them. I know I've never collected Mezco. Okay. I know.
Are you just aware of everybody's, like, the most of people's thoughts and opinions and stuff on Mezco?
Generally, yes. You know, the turtle ones, they look so good. They look like amazing. But it's more of the 4 turtles. And like I think I already said, like, you know, they make like 30 unique turtle figures a year. Yeah. So it's like I'm not gonna spend $100 on each turtle. Like maybe if all 4 of them came for like 200, I'd look into it. But you know, you're thinking 400 for them. Super 7, we'll talk about Super 7. Their prices are already like through the roof. Yeah. And for a wave of 4 of them, it's like a little more than half of what they're asking for those 4 figures. So when you look at it that way, it's like Super 7's already an expensive line and they're almost half the price of these. Right. So I'm just like, after I buy a Super 7 wave, I'm always like, oh, my bank account's going to be hurting for a little bit. Yeah.
They hurt.
But
it definitely hurt.
Yeah, but these Mezco ones, like they look really good. I love the expression, like Donnie's face. He's just got this shit-eating grin on his face. He looks so cool. And like even just the paint deco on their shells and everything looks so good. I don't know. I'm gonna pass. I'm not gonna get them, especially no payment plan. Like I'm not paying $400 raw right on the spot. Like I'm not
right. My stance on Mezco has kind of been most of their figures. Like the draw is their soft goods. Like that's kind of Mezco's thing. That's like what sets their figures apart. Is they all wear
wire
soft
capes.
Goods. Yeah. Yep. And even just their whole outfits will be like spandex and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm of the opinion, I think they look like dolls. That's just what they look like to me. Like they just don't look like action figures to me. Like I don't know what it is. Like I like soft goods on things, but just the way those figures typically look, they look like dolls to me. They look like just the most updated version of Migos, is what I kind of always looked at Mezco as. So when I saw the tease for the Turtles figures, it had me more intrigued because there's no soft goods. You know what I mean? They have the belts and stuff, but that's really probably the only thing and I'm sure they'll probably be real leather and nice and stuff like that. But I knew these were going to be sick because again, they do a good job in sculpting and stuff like that, but I knew there wasn't going to be the soft goods. So I was really interested to see these figures and they definitely looked almost exactly how I thought they would. I don't know what the style is because it's not really anything that's ever been done before. It's kind of, so the alternate heads that come with the Super 7 figures, and again, we'll transition into that here soon. That's kind of what they look like to me. You know what I mean? Just really like kind of scrunched and wrinkly is kind of like what they look like. Like just kind of more like lines in the face and stuff like that.
Very comic booky.
Yeah. It's kind of like they're drawing a lot of inspiration from a lot of places, it feels like, and they definitely do have their own feel. So there are 6-inch figures too. So it's not like they're 1/6 scale where they can charge a little bit more because it is a lot bigger, a lot more plastic, a lot more detailing on a bigger figure. Like, we already think Super7 is a high price point for a 6-inch figure. $100 is nuts.
Yeah. And to be fair, Super7 is more around 7-inch, to be honest.
That's true. Yeah, they are a bigger figure. Yeah.
Super7's sizes never match any other company's
No.
scale. They don't scale with anything else, which is
you can't really keep, like, if you wanted to mix and match Hasbro, NECA, I feel like that's not too bad. But yeah, your Super7 figures just stand out. Even posing them on a shelf, like, again, I'm not too crowded, but I crowd, like, just, you have to have so much more space for those figures to display too. You know what I mean? You can't really pack them in like normal 6-inch figures.
Yeah. I have a whole separate section. I've showed it in my videos where I just have like tiered, like little shelves I put up that I just put like 3 or 4 Super7 characters on a shelf because it's like they take up all the other shelves. They just hog the whole shelf and they don't scale with anything else. They just stand out and look awkward if they were on the shelf with other figures. So I guess we're talking about Super7 now.
Yep, easy transition for this one.
I guess
I'll cut the video and then
final thoughts though. Mezco. Final thoughts on that. Mezco, I agree. I've always thought they just look like dolls. They're like Mego, like you said. They're Mego. I always said Mego, but like Mego, they're just those, just like with more articulation and detail.
Yeah. So again, they've never really done anything for me, but these turtle figures do look sweet. But I mean,
they do. For
me, $400, like, that's a chunk of money that, like, I don't spend easy. You know what I mean?
No,
I don't know if up to this point if I ever have spent. The arcade 1-up cabinet is probably the single biggest, like, nerd purchase outside of like an actual legit new gaming console that I've ever spent money on. That, you know what I mean? But for $400, cool. I just don't think they fit that bill. You know what I mean? Like,
I've paid, you know, a lot for especially some of the vintage figures. You know, Scratch, Hotspot. Shogun showed. I got him new in his package. Not too much, not that much. It was under $300. That was like,
that's insane to me. Like, that blows my mind.
Yeah, that was like 2017. I want to say 2018.
That's crazy. That just tells you like how quick that line blasted up.
Hotspot was not in his package. He was a lot more money than that, especially you consider I had to buy the accessories separate. So he was a pretty penny. He ended up being more than Scratch just because I don't have Scratch's accessories. Hotspot I have complete. So
nice.
But the thing is, all those figures payment plan except for Shote. But again, he was under 300. And also, actually, I used a gift card. Someone for Christmas gave me an Amazon gift card, so I was like, perfect. But all the other ones payment plan, so it's like it's not that bad. But I would never pay $400 up front for a figure, or even again, not a collection of figures.
Yeah, not for that. If it was like, I mean, a Playmates Grail or something like that. Like, if everyone's like, here's this Euro variant Shredder for $400, of course I'm going to take that for $400. You know, I'll figure it out. I'll sell something real fast to get that $400.
If it's something crazy, like it's some character I love who never gets merchandise or something, then it's like, okay, yeah, you got me. I'll find a way. Yeah, like if it was something crazy, then I would. But you know, just the 4 turtles. Like, I have a lot of turtles. So.
No, exactly. And again, I don't, for how sweet they look. And again, as we get closer, maybe FOMO will kick in. And again, I don't know how, because the other thing people say is that Mezco figures tend to sell out pretty fast. But do you think these are going to sell out quick with the $40 deposit and stuff like that?
I think they will. And then I think they're going to flip for even more.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. I think they're going to flip for, they're probably going to be like close to $600 for all 4 eventually.
That's crazy.
But, and then when you add in shipping and all that, it's like you're going to be paying like $700 for a few turtles. All right, so Super7. This is the meat of the episode. This is what we're going to talk about because I don't want to say everyone's talking about them because it's quite the opposite. Most people aren't talking about them anymore. There's a lot to be said about Super7. There's so much good and there's so much bad that can be said about Super7. I don't think I've ever had an action figure line in my life that I've wanted to love so badly, and I love it so much, but it has so many flaws. You know, it depends on the figure. It varies, and at first I was cutting them a lot of slack. I do love them. I'll just get off the bat. I'll just say I do love Super7's TMNT Ultimates. I still love them. They look amazing. And I just did my video that hasn't gone up yet at recording this, but of top 10, and a lot of Super7s made it into top 10 Turtles figures of the year for me. But I've just had so many QC issues and stuff with them, with like wave 5. Especially mostly wave 5, a few issues with wave 6, but wave 5 was bad. And I've had some issues with them before, just like the we'll get into it. But what are your thoughts? Yes, on Super7.
So one of my most popular videos is a video where I talk in great detail about how much I love the NECA Toon line and how much I love the Super7 Ultimates line. And going into this year, after the first 4 waves had been put out, so I think I got wave 4 in January or something like that. Yeah, but going into this year, like after those first 4 waves came out, they were definitely my favorite action figures of all time. Like I love the original Playmates line. Like it has that nostalgic love that nothing else can ever give me. But Super7 is that line, but remade for what I want now. You know what I mean? Like it just literally was like, because I started, like, I just gotten into NECA Toon and NECA movie figures and stuff like that, and then these Super7 figures came out, and I was like, what is going on here? Like, what are these? Like, this is exactly what I want. They look exactly like a Playmates figure, but way cooler. Yeah. And I couldn't have more good things to say about them. I had virtually no QC issues in my first 4 waves. I cannot think of one major problem that I had with those original figures. I know a lot of people's Muckman's hips get loose and stuff like that, but mine's still holding pretty strong. And then this year, like I said, I got wave 4 in January of 2022, and I got Slash in October, I think, and I got Krang in October. Those are the first 2 figures that I got of the 5th and 6th wave, and then everything else I actually just recently got. I got it all from Entertainment Earth on sale. And
nice.
My thoughts, again, I still love the line, but I'm shocked at how fast one round of opening figures changed my mind on an entire line of figures.
That's pretty much exactly what happened to me. And I had heard people complaining about them at first. And I was thinking like, oh, come on, people are exaggerating. Super7 makes good stuff. Stop dumping on them just because they're a smaller company. But it's like, no, the complaints were warranted. Yeah. So I do have to, I guess, back up. So about how I got into the line, because that's actually interesting you mentioned that. I think we actually both initially wanted something different from this line. So when I first saw them announced, I didn't care about them. I was like, I already have the vintage figures. I guess this is cool if you don't have the vintage figures, but I already have them. I don't need this crap. Like I already have the vintage ones. And I just thought like they're charging so much. I'm like, I'm getting the NECA ones. Those are unique. I'll get the NECA ones. I don't care about the Super7s. It wasn't until I had them in hand. I originally was like, I'm just going to get Bebop and Rocksteady when they come out. And I pre-ordered Bebop, but in the time where I pre-ordered Bebop, I ran into Baxter in a store. And I got Baxter, and I instantly fell in love with it when I had it in hand. And I'm like, okay, this is so much cooler than I thought it was going to be. And then I picked up Raph, but then I picked up Splinter. And then, by that point, it's like, okay, I'm collecting the whole freaking line at this point. But what I originally wanted, I still kind of lean this way. I think the biggest way to show how we disagree on this line to a certain extent is the Gorilla figure. I believe in a video you said you didn't like it. Like it's not out yet, but it's coming out like I think in June or something. Yep. But I believe you said you didn't like that figure because you wanted something more like the traditional Sergeant Bananas rather than what they gave us.
Yeah, because that is, like I said, that's what I want out of the line. Like I mostly am using the original head sculpts. I know a lot of people say like the original Turtles ones look weird, but when I look at my Raph figure, it literally, I feel exactly the same as I do when I look at that Playmates figure. Like, I don't know what it is. The very first time I got that Raph figure in hand, just looking into his eyes, like it just looked exactly how I felt when I looked at my Playmates Raph when I was a kid. I can't explain it to you, and I know it's very pathetic hearing a grown man talk about an action figure that way.
Hey, man, you don't have to worry about that around me. We're all nerds here.
But it just struck a chord with me. And like you said, like I thought they looked cool from the promo images. But once I got, because I think Glow Baxter was the first figure that I got. And
oh, yeah.
Especially for the wave, like that wave 1, like he was the hit out of that wave, I would say, because he was what that wave what the line represented to me. Just taking those Playmates figures and blowing them up to what they should have been. Like the characters that they had to scrunch down and make small to fit in the blister, they could start making them big. Like in my mind, looking at that scrunched Playmates Baxter, I didn't see him as big, you know what I mean? He looked like a small squatty character, but again, it's just because he is squat. Like if he stood up and spread out, he would be a lot bigger like that. And I keep mine kind of a little bit squat to keep it in that Playmates homage. But yeah, it just, I don't know. The Gorilla, like I said, it mostly makes me worried that they're just, and again, I don't know if this is a good time to jump right into this, just where the line is going and stuff like that. They just seem to be on a very steady trajectory. And to me, it just seems like one person was running the line and then all of a sudden somebody else just took it over and just took it in a completely different direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like the first dude was like, all right, nostalgia. And this other dude's like, hey, I think this figure's cool. And they didn't really know what was going on. Like, I don't get it. It just seems like such an abrupt shift. And then once wave 9 was shown, like an abrupt shift back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to talk about wave 7, 8, and 9 individually and kind of like rate them. Because I have a lot to say about all of them.
I mean, we can go into great detail on everything. Yeah. Don't worry. Like I said,
those are the waves.
You can fill an hour on Super 7. I got a lot to say on Super 7. So
those are the waves that haven't been released yet. Just for like people listening, if you're not, knowledgeable, that's like the ones that have been shown off but not released. Because Super 7, they love showing off stuff that has not been released. So,
right.
We'll get them within the next decade at some point, I guess. But so Gorilla. See, the thing is, I think first of all, I think it's a legal thing for whatever reason that there seems to be.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure that's what I've heard around the grapevine. Sergeant Bananas they probably dropped the license on it or whatever, and somebody else probably picked it up. Most likely is what happened.
I know there was like a little, I think Funko minifigure, like a little big headed, not the pops, but little big headed figures that came out. I don't know if it was Funko, but it was like a little like, a vinyl pop thing that was like this big, vinyl figure, I should say. The blind bag things that came out about 6 years ago or something that had Sergeant Bananas in his vintage Playmates design. Oddly enough, of all the characters you could pick, they picked Sergeant Bananas. So I think that's why supposedly Gorilla's from like this magazine comic. I never even freaking heard of it. Like I take pride in being a big Turtles fan. Like I don't know what the hell this comic is. Like I'll admit defeat this time. It's like I don't know what this is. You got me. I have to be honest. I'm really hyped for the Gorilla figure. I think that's the highlight of that wave for me personally. And I think that's because I do love the nostalgia. I do love the plus versions of the vintage figures, but I do also want something new. And I've had those vintage figures my whole life. Nothing's ever going to replace them for me. So I feel like I'm kind of just buying, here's not quite they made the big versions in Playmates for some of their figures. Here's the medium version of the Playmates figures. And it's like, they're cool. Some of them are, very cool. But I always use the alternate heads because I don't think they look bad, the old heads. I have Leonardo with the retro head, but just because I thought that his old head looked too much like Raph's, and I want Raph to look the angriest out of all of them.
Yeah.
I just want something new. I think the nostalgia for me is just the fact that we're getting a Sergeant Bananas figure. It's like, oh, wow, this character's back. But I'd like to see like new takes on the characters personally. And like that was one of the things that kind of bothered me about, Mutant Mayhem's great figure. He looks awesome. But I kind of wish, he had like some sculpted green slime in there and they painted the skull and they kind of redesigned him a little bit, painted all the organs. They're just trying to make him look identical to the vintage one. That's cool. That's going to get the most nostalgia out of people, especially people who don't have the vintage figures anymore. It's like a way for them to kind of reclaim that nostalgia. But for me, I kind of want a new twist on them, I guess, myself. Gorilla's kind of what I want. To be honest, I like Sergeant Bananas. He's not my favorite vintage figure. He's a little plain. He's cool, but I feel like even of all the characters from Wave 4, that's a weird one to pick. Like not Ground Chuck, not Dirtbag, not Chrome Dome, not, I mean, I guess Walkabout would be a weird choice, but not Worm. I want Worm's like probably one of my most wanted Super 7 figures. I think he's number one.
We can talk about that later, yeah. So, all right. So you just said, hang on, a lot of things I got to touch on there. So, all right, since we were on Gorilla. We'll start with that, and then I'll say what I want to say about Muckman.
Got a gorilla for sale. And he's twice the price of everybody else.
Right. So, okay. So that's one thing. So a lot of things about Gorilla Grill. He is higher priced. And the thing about that is, I mean, he looks enormous. Like the other figures in that wave look big, but I don't think people realize like he's probably going to be twice as heavy as any other figure that's been put out. If you look at his bazooka alone, it's about the size of that Donnie figure. Like I bet his accessory has as much plastic in it as a turtle figure does. So he is going to be a beefy boy for sure. Like, and that it might be my draw to it, especially because, again, I feel like that's kind of what really sparked this line anyways, once people started getting them in hand, and then they're like, okay, these are sick. I think that might be, if people start getting Gorilla, and they're like, okay, this figure is big and beefy and awesome, it might sway me a little bit, because, again, I do buy into hype. Like I said, I got that Not Leo figure because of the hype. Everybody was talking about it. I had to check it out. So that could be the case when Gorilla comes out. But another weird thing. So have you ever noticed your Sergeant Bananas figure says Gorilla on his lapel or his pocket?
You know what I think is funny is it doesn't even say Gorilla. It says Gorilla. There's no.
I don't even know if I noticed that. Then I guess I always just filled in the rest with my brain and didn't notice that. It says
Gorilla. I don't know if it's because they couldn't fit Gorilla when they were etching it in or something.
I bet it was.
It just says Gorilla, but it's spelled, I believe, like guerrilla warfare, like Urilla, not like, because the character's Gorilla. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, it's very confused. Like these figures definitely have some sort of spiritual connection. I feel like, you know what I mean? But
they're
like
definitely
you said,
the same character to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like kind of like how, Ray Fillet can also be Man Ray or
exactly
be Ray.
What I was going to say.
They're all the same guy, really. Yeah. So I feel like it's probably whoever made this comic didn't get the rights to use the name Sergeant Bananas, so they just made up their own name. But the other thing I don't get though is they say he's from the Amazon. Where the hell did they find gorillas in the Amazon? Like you'd think like if it would be like a jaguar or something from the Amazon, like not a gorilla. It's from Africa, but whatever.
I guess I've never really thought about that before. Yeah, and then what you said about Muckman. So again, if you've ever seen that video where I talk about very in depth about how much I love Super7, Muckman at that time, he was my standout figure from the fourth wave. Like for those first four waves, I still think he might be my favorite figure. We'll see if when I do my top 10 and stuff like that, but
he's still mine.
Yeah, that figure, the Playmates one is by far the most ambitious sculpt that was in the main line, far and away. Like the detail that is in that figure, like no other figure has that much effort put into it. And Playmates,
not even the Mega Mutants, the big ones, like he doesn't even have as much detail.
No, nobody does. Like Muckman is like, again, he is just the standout figure from the line. Again, I definitely didn't appreciate him as much as I did when I was a kid as I do now. But
you hated that manhole cover on his foot.
Yeah, just drove me nuts, man. I just wanted that off there. Just give him a regular fucking foot. But yeah, when I got that figure in hand, the Super7 one, that is to me what really epitomized the line to me. It was taking what those original sculptors envisioned and Playmates couldn't afford to do, and then bringing that to life. Like I never knew how much detail was really in that figure. Even just looking at it without the deco, it's hard to tell, you know what I mean? And there is just so much put into that sculpt. And like I said, that's just what I want out of that line. I want these figures I love, and then I just want everything brought out of them that was intended to be brought out of them when they were originally made by Varner Studios, and I can't remember the other studios that was in on it too.
I agree to a certain extent, but like I just want something a little new too. So for example, I love the Muckman figure. Muckman is an easy way to get me to love. If you do vintage Playmate style Muckman, you got a win for me. They did a stupendous job. Everything about him is awesome. Even the fact that like his eyes and stuff look like wet and stuff, the way the paint is done. But that's the thing is like they didn't add a single detail. It's all the exact same details that were on the vintage one. So now the flies are like really big on him and they're painted like really like stark black and white. I kind of wish rather than doing that, they added more bugs, like smaller bugs in greater quantity. and kind of plus the figure in that way instead of him having these freakishly giant flies on him. And he looks amazing. I feel like an asshole complaining about Super7 Muckman because like I would never, if I was a freaking toy designer, I would never sculpt something that amazing.
No,
but
it's beautiful.
I kind of always wish they'd plus him a little bit more. Like I feel like Slash is plussed. Like the texture on his belly and everything, like everything about that Slash figure is just more than the vintage figure. Whereas some of them, I feel like they just do the same with more articulation and larger size. I just wish they did a little more like new creative artistic spins on the characters to a certain degree for a lot of figures. But sort of like a lot of people hated that Krang had the very metallic Bubble Walker for Super 7. I actually really like the way that looks. I think that the vintage one, I'm nostalgic for it, but it's so flat and it's it just kind of like this. I feel like that's plussing it. Like now it actually looks like machinery. It actually looks like this space age technology. Whereas in the old one, it looks like Tinker Toys. I kind of like it when they do like those little pluses here and there for the figures to like be like, you know, we're not going to do them exactly the same because we can do them better now. Sort of like when you look at their accessories, like there's no reason why Bebop's trash can lid can't be metallic paint. Like, because I've never seen a trash can like that, like classic metal trash can that has like a dull
flat paint, right?
Yeah, flat gray, dark gray paint. Like you want metallic. Like Rocksteady's gun, you know, the wood, there's like little like handles. They could have made those like brown, like wood, and they could have made like gunmetal, like a nice dark, like kind of shiny gunmetal. They didn't. It's just the same flat gray as the vintage toy, and like the knife is all gray. It's not like, you know, metallic handle, blade, and then, you know, maybe like a black wrapped handle or something. It's like they kind of do. I don't want to say they do the bare minimum because they're going above and beyond with these figures, but I just feel like it's not so much a lazy thing as it is like we can't change these figures too much kind of thing. And I really wish they would change them more. But that being said, there's always the risk when you change stuff that you're going to turn people off. Because I myself, I have to say, I'm not a fan of how they changed Screw Loose in the upcoming figure. So if you look at the original sculpt of Screw Loose, look at him on the package where he's fully colored. He's not just like the, you know, the one color figure. In the artwork, he's not wearing that black domino mask in the vintage figures. And the new one, they just wanted to make him look like Robin. I think in the new one, they gave him like a reddish shirt, green pants, and a domino mask. Whereas the original one, he's supposed to have like, you know, a dark orange shirt and like a like bluish pants and no domino mask and stuff. And I think like they just kind of changed. And you know that you could say that's plussing him, like exactly what I said for Gorilla. But for me personally, I don't like the way they changed him as much. I still gonna buy it. It still looks great, but I don't like it quite as much. But to someone else, that could be like a huge improvement. So that's the problem with changing it, is you're only plussing it in the eyes of some people. Other people are like, you're taking away what I love. So if someone really loved the vintage Sergeant Bananas with the full camo costume, they're probably feeling that same way I am about Screw Loose, about Gorilla. So it's a complicated topic. So it's like, it's probably for the best to just stay close to vintage to please everyone. But I personally wish there was a little more, you know, creative freedom in the line. But again, with Screw Loose, sometimes I don't. So it's also like, you know, I've wanted like a true vintage Playmate style Screw Loose, not like the little unpainted slug figure we got with the classic. I want like a true Screw Loose. I've wanted that my whole life. And we got the Toon one from NECA, but it's like, I want one that's like the style of the vintage one. And now we're getting him, but they did such a weird spin on him to make him look like Robin that he's not really the Screw Loose I wanted. I never thought of Screw Loose as being Robin, even though like clearly, you know, Wingnut is dressed up like Adam West Batman and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's an iffy subject.
So I definitely don't mind some of the changes that they made later on. And that's definitely kind of the shift that started to happen once they hit Wave 5. Because like you, I liked the more metallic paint on Krang's Bubble Walker. Like, I'll get into that figure in a bit, but again, I love the aesthetics of that figure. He looks great, but it's just a broken figure. And that was definitely the biggest bummer out of everything for me, was that Krang figure. Again, I have no issues with the way it looks. I like how they gave us the 2 different Krang heads. I know you had an issue taking out your tripod and it busted on you and stuff like that. But I mean, I got mine sitting on my desk right now. You know what I mean? And it's just like a bonus Krang head that I feel like I have. And I don't mind it. Because like you said, with Slash, he is a little bit plussed. He's got texture and he's got bumps on him and stuff like that. And then just the scarring on his shells. Like I love the way that figure looks. I don't know. I'm not bothered by the dark green. I kind of like it a little bit. I can see why people...
I like it better, actually, because again, I like it to be a little different, but I just think it makes him look more menacing. It makes the bright color pop more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In my head, like he kind of looks like the color of the 2012 one, and in that one, he is supposed to be a little bit more of like a badass kind of. You know what I mean?
He was Corey Feldman in that one,
right? Yeah, he's just... I don't know. I like that direction when they started to go with that. I didn't have a problem. I liked the solid Playmates aesthetic, but I didn't mind when they started doing that. But I know there are definitely some people that probably would love if they just stuck with that Playmates aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know exactly what I want out of this line. I just know there's a lot of things done in waves 7 and 8 that just were, I don't know, just a little too much outside the box for me, I guess.
I think that, that's a good thing to get into. So we need to talk about what people want from this line and what, for whatever reason, Super7 thinks people want from this line. And we've both covered this in videos on our own channels, but, I'm not expecting everyone to listen to this podcast to be a veteran who watched every video on my stupid YouTube channel. So, they seem to have this idea that what people want from this line is to get the Holy Grail figures from the Playmates line, like finally be able to get them without having to pay like $600 or something for them, or $1,000. But like I always say, is like, no one really has a nostalgic connection to those figures, because most of us didn't have them growing up. Most of us didn't have Scratch. I told my story how I was standing in KB, a whole wall of scratches. And me and my brother were like, we'll get him some other time. We didn't care anymore at that point. Like, no one cared about, like, Scratch, I think he makes a bit more sense because he's a unique character. So he's grown more of a fan base. But no one like really has a nostalgia connection to, Raphael in a soft goods trench coat, or, home jersey, white jersey, basketball Donatello, or Michelangelo metalhead, whatever the fuck, like that thing, like where they just went crazy with the whole line of like, these are warrior turtles. Like, they're just repaints of robots. Like, no one knew that stuff came out. Most people were out of the line at that point. And if they were, they don't have nostalgia for those figures. The figures people have nostalgia for are ones we haven't gotten, like Rat King, General Trag. Like, those are the figures. It's inexcusable that we're 9 figures in and there's no Rat King. Like, Rat King is one of the most important characters from Turtles. He's in every iteration except for some of the movies. And it's just like, they think everyone wants these like weird, Holy Grail figures, but even the people who want those, who collect the vintage line, that is such a small niche audience of people who like go nuts for Scratch and go nuts for, Warrior, Michelangelo, Metalhead, whatever. Like that's a very niche audience of people.
I mean, it's just not obtainable for the average collector.
Yeah, and it's unobtainable, and it means nothing to most people, because most people are like, well, I didn't grow up with that. I don't know what the hell this thing is. Like, it's only for like weirdos like me who, buy stuff like, Gatekeeper Rocksteady and stupid crap like that. Like most people don't want that. Most people don't know what the hell that is. So it's like your average toy collector, like Turtles collector, is only going to want the stuff that they have an attachment to, the stuff that they love. And even me, I'm only going to get the retro stuff that I want. Like, I love Bebop and Rocksteady, so I'll get their variants, but I'm not buying like Warrior, Metalhead, Michelangelo. I'm not getting that stuff. And I'm not getting him in the Super7 line, because it's like, I don't need this. I got Metalhead, I got Michelangelo. I'm good. I don't need, whatever this thing is. They just seem to think that everyone wants these like weird variants. I think most people just want the most popular figures from the vintage line. They just want to relive that vintage line. And they don't realize that's what people want.
And I am going to 100% agree with that. So I've definitely said very similar things to everything you just said. Like,
Yeah, I might have flipped you off there. I have no idea.
Like, again, have you ever seen an interview with Brian Flynn early on when these figures started coming out?
Yeah, I did. Toy Bro
that was
and
one of the
Pixel Dan and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that he hit on is he's like, with some of these lines, we're putting out the figures that we want. And again, when you're a small niche company, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like when you're not that huge, that's one thing. But this line has really exploded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I don't think they ever were prepared for what Ultimates were going to do for them. And that's something we can get into definitely later. So anybody hears, that's my dog in the background. But it just seems like Super7 just really was getting a little bit self-indulgent in some of their things. Because that's the thing, like with waves that have just been announced, they were in the pipeline probably a couple years ago. You know what I mean? Like, it was like 2 years ago, they said they had like 11 waves already planned out or something like that. So this had already been thought out a while ago. And it just did seem like it's getting to the point where, like you said, I don't think they're as in touch with certain fandoms as they think they are. And that's, you hit the nail on the head there, to where I don't have nostalgic appeal for Scratch, even though I was surprised at how much I did like that figure when I got it in hand. He is one of the better figures they've done. Like it's one of the few figures from that line that I look at and I just don't go back in time when I see it. And the Warrior Michelangelo Metalhead, whatever it is, that's probably going to be the first easy pass for me, not just because of the figure that it is that I don't care about. And I mean, I know he is one of the most valuable vintage figures there is probably, but like the Metalhead. So I said in the first 4 waves, I didn't have a lot of QC issues or really any. Metalhead is definitely the worst engineered figure of those first 4 waves, in my opinion. He is the one that does kind of have loose hips and stuff like that. He's kind of hard. I don't know. He never really falls over, but I can really only get him standing in a very balanced position, if I want to get him in like an action pose or something like that. So
I have to have him like bent. I have to have him bent over like an old man, like he's bent over, like he has back problems. The way he stands.
So that Metalhead will definitely, just based off, I have no faith that they're gonna do anything about the issues. I'm assuming they're just gonna pour the same new plastic in the old mold. And again, I think that's gonna be, again, Gorilla. I could see myself getting sucked into the hype, but I think that's gonna be my first pass. And once I decide I'm not going to be a completionist and I do pass on my first thing from there, like then I probably will just start picking and choosing and stuff like that, because I'm at the point now where I collect so much shit, I can't just buy everything. So I am starting to kind of refocus and just buy things that like have meaning or feel special to me. So as someone that had stated that I was probably going to be all in on this line for as long as it went out, after the last figures we just got and after the announcements that are coming, I don't know if that's going to be the case for me going forward.
I know it's not for me. I've never bothered with the special figures in each wave. There's always that like bonus 5th figure. Like I didn't get Glow Baxter. I've had so many opportunities to get Glow in the Dark Mutagen Man. There's a store by me that's selling them for like $40 and they have like 2 of them. But I'm always like, I could just grab that. There's 2 voices in my head, and they're both telling me no. One of them saying, you don't have any room for that damn thing. And the other one's like, once you get that one, you're going to want Glow Baxter. You're going to want Glow Foot Soldier. You're going to want Flocked Splinter. You're going to want all that stuff. So I'm like, I'm not going to get any of these bonus figures, because if I get one, I'm going to want them all. And I know I don't actually care about any of them. So I'm just mainline for this figure, for this, this whole line. I like that Metalhead. The Michelangelo Metalhead thing is the 5th figure. We get 4 actual figures, even though I didn't want Robotic Bebop. Again, that's like a later form from the original one. And I have the original Robotic Bebop and Rocksteadies from the Playmates line. They're cool, mostly because they're fully vac metal. Like when they're not vac metal, they're not much to look at. I just don't think anyone really wanted Robotic Bebop. Like we only get 4 unique characters, 3 unique characters per wave, because we always get 1 turtle, and we're getting like 2 or 3 waves a year. So it's like, could you not waste that on Bebop and Rocksteady variants already? I hate to sound like a broken record, but like instead of getting Bebop and Rocksteady variants, could we just get Rat King? Could we get Fugitoid? Could we get characters that are like big Turtles characters that people remember and people want, rather than just getting this, like, how about we get some wave 4s other than Sergeant Bananas? How about we get Ground Chuck and Dirtbag or Worm or something? Like, how about we get some wave 5s if you want? If you're going to throw in Scratch and just skip wave 4 and 5 and go straight to 6, why don't we get, Hothead? Why don't we get King Lionheart or something? So like Bebop and Rocksteady because we already need to get a turtle variant every wave, apparently. And like just putting Bebop and Rocksteady variants in there too is like, we're only getting 2 unique characters per wave. That is until we get to wave 8. And wave 8 is the biggest pile of crap Super 7 is putting out. I'm sure there'll be great figures. Genghis Frog looks awesome. He actually looks a lot better. And the vintage figure was kind of dopey. I love it. I have nostalgia for it, but it was a little dopey. He looks a lot cooler, I think, for theirs. That alt head with the tongue coming out is freaking awesome. Also.
He hits that plus, I feel like you're looking for too, because he looks like he's got a lot of bumps on him and stuff like
textured.
that. So, yeah. I would definitely say he's the standout figure.
He is. We got Space Cadet Raph, which he looks good, but it's the turtle variant. I expect the turtle variant each wave. It's like they're kind of like the Passover figure. And then we have Robotic Rocksteady immediately after Robotic Bebop. Like they're obsessed with like, oh, you got to finish the series. You can't have Robotic Bebop without Robotic Rocksteady. But they still have never given us Undercover Don. They just skipped him entirely because they wanted to do Soft Goods Undercover Raph because that's the more valuable undercover character, but it's the one nobody has nostalgia for. Everyone remembers Don with that mask and the bang gun and everything. And it's just like, I don't want Robotic Bebop already. I definitely don't care about Robotic Rocksteady also. And they look cool. They look like cool figures, but they're not vac metal. And that's what made the originals. They're such niche figures from the original line. A lot of people didn't know about them. NECA already did good, like cartoon versions of them and stuff. It's like I would so much rather just have a unique character there. And then the biggest offender is this isn't a bonus figure. This isn't like the 5th extra thing you can get if you feel like it and you're rolling in dough. This is like one of the 4 main figures in the line is the exact same damn Shredder figure we already have, but all the blue is silver.
I would say that's the most egregious like repaint rehash that they've done so far, because it's not even based off anything. Like when they redid the Toon figure, they painted his chest, right?
Yeah, they painted his chest, and I want to say like his crotch area, for lack of a better word. Like that area, they painted it, I think, all that gray color that it is in the cartoon. So when you put the belt on, it looked like he was wearing the cartoon outfit.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's just shirtless. He's like, So apparently this was going to be a repaint they were going to release later in the original line, and they never did. It was canceled because it's stupid. That's why. And for some reason, Super 7's like, oh, that looks like a great idea. Let's release it because it's unreleased previously. So we're real collectors, but it's like, and the sad thing is I've actually seen some people, like, you're allowed to like it, but some people actually defended this figure when I talked badly about it in my video. And they were like, I think it's a cool vari. You don't have to get it if you don't want to and stuff. It's like, I know I will not get it. That's the first mainline figure I am not getting from Super 7. But the thing is, I hate that that's being released as a main figure. I wouldn't mind that at all if it was the 5th figure, like if it was just like the bonus figure. But this is like, we could have gotten another character. And I know theoretically we probably wouldn't have, because it would have taken them way longer to sculpt another character. But I don't know, maybe put one of the Wave 9 characters in there and not announce Wave 9 3 years before it launches, like they love to do. Like if they just slowed down with announcing stuff and just, worked harder on making sure each wave was a good, complete, product, I think I'd be a lot happier with Super 7. But, you have stuff on pre-order, you're waiting a whole year for it to show up. And within that year, there's like 4 more waves shown off. And I don't know how old I might be dead by the time Wave 9 comes out. Like I don't freaking know. So that Shredder that like almost killed the line for me when they showed that off. When I saw Wave 8, I almost pulled the plug on Super 7, especially since like I had been waiting for Wave 5 for like a year by the time that was shown off. And it was like, or like not a year, but probably about like 9 months. So but like they're announcing a wave I don't care about, and the other figures aren't even coming and stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm done with Super 7. But, you know, getting Wave 5 and Wave 6 in hand and then seeing Wave 9 definitely breathed some life back into this this line, because I mean, not only can you see just from Wave 5 to Wave 6 that the QCSUs got a lot better in Wave 6, but Wave 9 had a pretty awesome lineup. So, what do you think about Wave 9?
Yeah, it seems like things were going bad with the announcements from 7 and 8, and then they just called an audible and they're like, all right, we're going back to what we were doing before because that's what was working. Like Wave 8, like you said, it definitely didn't kill the line for me, but I saw that and I'm like, okay, there's only 4 figures. One is a repaint, and Robotic Bebop is, which one is that now? I can't remember.
Rocksteady's in that one.
Yeah, I can't remember which one's which. So again, a figure that nobody is excited about, and we have one mainline figure and then a turtle variant. So the way I'm looking at that, 2 figures that most people are probably going to be in on. And since the 2 waves before that were both 5s, it just looked like this might be the twilight of the line. And that's just really what bummed me out, because in my opinion, if that was it, it's because they made bad choices for that to happen. You know what I mean? The first 4 waves, they were doing well. There's nobody had much negative things to say up to that point. It wasn't until 5 and 6 started hitting and then 7 and 8 got announced that, I don't know, it just seems like there's just kind of been a changing tide when it comes to these figures. But when Wave 9 came out, I feel like almost everybody was just right back into it. Everybody was so stoked on these figures because, again, they're doing the figures they should be doing. They're giving us mainline figures. And again, if you want to throw one subline in there, if you want to throw one repaint in there as a 5th figure, that's one thing. But for each wave, we need to be getting like 3 mainline figures so we can knock this out. Like you said, they're gaping holes in this, especially Wave 2. So we don't have Rat King, like you mentioned, and he's definitely one of my top most wants. We don't have Usagi, and I'm assuming he's probably a Stan Sakai issue trying to get the licensing for that figure, because otherwise I feel like he probably would have been out pretty early. And
he's a fan favorite. So.
Oh, easily, yeah. And then Trag, I'm pretty sure we're still missing for that wave, which again, you know, if the Horsemen do what the Horsemen do, Trag could be a super sick figure.
He could be the best figure in the line, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think he has a ton of potential. So with the amount of figures that have been announced, so we have 2 waves for this year, which is 2023. We have one for 2024 essentially announced. So we'll get one more in 2024. We're talking 2025 here, possibly before we even have Wave 2 complete at this point.
Yeah.
It's the biggest just peeve of this line so far for me is, again, I'm a huge Raph fan. I think that the Undercover Raph figure is one of my favorite figures in the line, but it was unnecessary and threw off the trajectory for what should have happened. We're not going to get Undercover Donnie until probably 2026 at the earliest at this point. I can't see him, or maybe I guess 2025 would probably be the earliest. If he comes in Wave 10, that would be the earliest he can possibly come now, and that'll be the last wave in 2025. And that just annoys me because, again, we have 3 of the figures from that subline. Just give me the 4th. That's what I want. Like, we want to complete things. Like, what collectors want. Collectors collect to have a complete collection. And that doesn't necessarily mean having every figure. It means having something that makes your collection feel complete to you.
Well, you'll be able to complete your Robotic Bebop and Rocksteady collection.
Knock it right out in 2 waves.
Priorities, man. But I have to say, Wave 9, though, I'm so hyped. It's a shame it's, over a year away, because as much as I, complained about the Screw Loose, Wingnut and Screw Loose looks so good. That's like that Wingnut. I know he's going to be a little more expensive. Again, like Screw Loose is like a full action figure. Mm-hmm. So I'm fine with that. Like he looks even more articulated than like their Joe Eyeball and Fish.
Oh, he definitely does. He looks like a figure. Exactly.
Yeah. And with the big wings and everything, I know Wingnut is like just going to be a tremendous figure. And I still find it weird that Robotic Bebop and Rocksteady are not more expensive, because those are big figures. They have a lot of accessories.
They're not at the $75 price point?
No, Robotic Bebop's like the regular price. That's why I was thinking, like, Gorilla is $20 more than Robotic Bebop. And I'm like, I know he's going to be big, but not probably
Okay,
not
you're
that
right,
much
because he
bigger.
was the first figure that they upcharged for, wasn't it? I forgot about that. Yeah, that was the first time they did that. For some reason, I was thinking, because then the other interesting one from Wave 9 is Scumbug has a slight upcharge to him too. He's not quite as high, but I think he's like $10 more as well.
I don't get that one at all, if I'm going to be honest. He looks awesome. One thing I have to say, I mentioned this in my Turtle Talk video. My channel was brand new. It bugs me, no pun intended, that they did this again. That, when he appeared in the 87 cartoon series, they looked at the action figure and they didn't know what the hell they were looking at. So his stomach looked like a fucking cloud. Like it was like a purple cloud. Like he just had a nasty looking guts. And they did that in the NECA figure because they just looked at the cartoon and sculpted what they saw.
Right.
If you look at that original figure, I actually didn't notice this until probably around 2006 when I re-got the figure. My brother was looking at it one night and pointed it out. It's actually like little bug arms, like mandibles, like folded up against his belly. And I don't think anyone sees that out of the sculpt because there wasn't enough deco. You couldn't tell what you were looking at. And I was really hoping they'd finally make those arms like articulated this time around. And he'd have like, 6 limbs. You have these little bug mandibles that you could move there. But they made it like a blobby cloud again. And that's a bummer, I think. That I would have expected the Horsemen to actually study that sculpt better than like the 87 cartoon guys did. But I guess they still didn't know what the hell they were looking at. So Scumbug, technically, he's not accurate to the vintage figure because he doesn't have those folded mandibles in this new one. He has like just a blobby, puffy cloud stomach. But yeah, he doesn't seem like he's going to be massive because he's just Scumbug. I think he's probably going to be around the size of like, I don't know, Metalhead, probably like around there, maybe a little bigger. And he has an alt head. He comes with a lot of accessories, most of which are pretty small, like just little bugs and stuff. So I don't know why the hell, like how is Robotic, Rocksteady, and Bebop like normal price, but then Scumbug is like this astronomical price? It just doesn't really make sense to me. It almost feels they're just picking and choosing at this point. Like Bebop and Rocksteady, the Robotic ones, not only are they bigger, but they have like crazier deco and everything. Like they have like the metallic paint and stuff. And like, it just seems like I don't know how those are cheaper than Scumbug because Scumbug's just an average figure. We might find out more about him as time goes on, but I don't know. Maybe his wings actually open and he has sculpted wings down there that you can like articulate or something. I don't know, but from what we've seen, he's just big version of the Playmates figure. So
can't really figure out what the upcharge is there either because, like you said, he has a lot of accessories, but they're really small, and the figure itself doesn't look that big. And we've gotten much bigger figures like the Robotic Bebop and Rocksteady. So yeah, it's just very, very perplexing. And I hope it's not a thing where they're testing the waters and they're like, all right, let's see how many people buy this figure, and then we'll see if we can just start charging this price for these figures, because there is going to be a breaking point for me with price when it comes to this line. And again, maybe I'm not going to completely just bail on it, but if they keep jacking up the prices, I mean, it's going to make me think even more about the figures I pick and choose to get from it. And
exactly,
again, I don't know necessarily how deep of a hole we want to go into this, but it's something I definitely just want to talk about. And I feel like I have to get it in, is just Super7's business model in general. Like, it just seems like, to me, if there is any company that could just abruptly go under one day, I feel like it's Super7. I feel like I'm not saying they're robbing Peter to pay Paul, but I just feel like if you're taking pre-order money so far out in advance, they're not just saving that money, you know what I mean? They're spending that money. And again, I feel like this is where the QC issues and everything is just kind of starting to come from. I feel like Super7 just blew up too fast and they just had way too much growth, and they still just keep throwing everything out there. And I don't know why they don't just try to slow down more. And like you said, why do they have to announce figures a year and a half ahead of time, unless it's because they need that pre-order money now?
Probably. I mean, they have their insurance plan, aka the reaction figures.
Right.
The reaction figures, the packages look great and all, but like I'm never gonna pay $20 for like a vintage Star Wars style action figure. That big. It's like I could get a nicer figure at from a Happy Meal at McDonald's. Like, like it looks nice, but $20, like you can go after yourself, man. Like I'm not spending $20 on that little thing. Like I can get a Loyal Subjects figure for $20 and a Motu Origins figure, and they're way more. Yeah, I don't want to accuse anybody of any sketchy, business behavior. I don't know what they're doing.
Again, neither do I. This is 100% speculation. I have no idea what's going on at Super 7. Like this is not. I'm just spitballing here.
Everybody's got to do the hustle. You got to do what you got to do. I appreciate it. I respect it. But it does seem like that's what they're doing. It does seem like they're putting out so many pre-orders just to get the stuff they already announced done. And, because they really quickly, they went from being the guys who scooped up Mattel's abandoned projects and started making them to like one of the big toy companies. Yeah. And, I think like they just bit off more than they could chew. They've always done a lot of stuff. They did a lot of Godzilla. They did a lot of horror stuff, but like they've really just gone like, I don't want to say mainstream now, but they're getting there. Like I'd say NECA is mainstream. You walk into a Target.
NECA is, I know, like, I do know that their business is much bigger than Super 7's is because again, like, they're inside a parent company that's huge too that owns, I guess Loot Crate and Kid Robot and all that other stuff too. So.
I mean, NECA's been around. I actually don't know how long Super 7's been around. NECA's been around a long time. I think it's like the late 90s, but they were doing like I have reissues of the 1993 Nightmare Before Christmas like figures, collector figures they made back then. There's like a Bendy Jack Skellington, like a Sally you can take off her arms and legs and stuff. They came out in 93 when the movie was new. And in 2003, all NECA was doing was re-releasing those same molds. In new packaging. So it's like early on, that's the kind of stuff NECA was doing. They were like small scale, but they've come a long way from just re-releasing Hasbro toys from the 90s and stuff. So it's like Super 7, I don't know their origins like I do NECA. I don't know where Super 7 started. I believe they started with Godzilla. I want to say their first figures were Godzilla figures.
So do you want to know how Super 7 started? Do you want to know what the first thing they did was?
Yes.
They produced a magazine. It was a magazine about like Japanese toys and stuff like that. And that's how Super 7 started.
Oh, so I guess they covered Japanese kaiju toys.
That's why that's why they like their vinyl crap so much and all their kaiju stuff. That's why, because I'm pretty sure that's like the kind of stuff that magazine covered. And then I don't know what their first I'm assuming Reaction had to have been what kicked off their action figure stuff. I don't know. I have no clue there, but they even do like Halloween masks and shit. They did like Universal Monster Halloween masks and stuff. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did a whole bunch of stuff. They have like a really nice Creature from the Black Lagoon one I kind of want, but I didn't know about the magazine, but I knew they started with monsters. Like monsters was their big thing at first. And I think it was
one of the first figures they put out was a kaiju thing, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was Godzilla, but it was something like that, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. But I really didn't start following them until they scooped up Motu Classics. And even then, I didn't collect Motu Classics, but I followed it. I followed all Pixel Dan's, chronicles of Motu Classics and all. But I know that was when I learned the name Super 7 was Motu Classics. And then I knew they scooped up Thundercats. And then, they started doing Turtles. And that's when I started actually collecting Super 7. They do a lot of lines, and a lot of them are really backed up. Thundercats is one of them. Like Wave 2 came out after Wave 4, I think. There's like a Disney one they do, and like I have things to say about that. I'm never gonna collect it. I don't think the figures look very good.
They're not getting reviewed well either.
Yeah, I mean, like some of them are like
Robin Hood, especially. People are not happy with that figure.
He doesn't even stand when you put him in the stork mode and stuff. But like the Pinocchio one, I get he's like a little boy, but he's shorter than Mickey. He's like so small, and he's like again, he's like a Happy Meal toy, but you're paying $60 for him. It's like, oh, but we gave him a bunch of accessories. Look, here's the little goldfish. It's like, okay, but Pinocchio sucks. Like that's what I bought. I didn't buy an accessory pack. I bought Pinocchio. And I didn't, but you know what I mean.
Right.
And I think also like just charging that price for them is just a little ludicrous because Disney characters just aren't that detailed. They're so smooth and simplistic.
Oh yeah, because they're a simple drawing.
Yeah, like okay, if they make like Little Mermaid ones, you got me, I'll buy them. But like if it's one I really like I don't know actually, because they announced the Nightmare Before Christmas ones this past Halloween that are coming out next Halloween, because wouldn't it be Super 7 if it wasn't a year in advance,
right?
And I love the Nightmare Before Christmas. They have Jack, Sally, and Oogie Boogie. Doing a Jack figure is just weird because he's like pipe cleaners, so it's I can't imagine
so skinny.
Yeah, that's a tall order for anyone, no pun intended.
I got Lacey a Diamond Selects Jack Skellington figure, and I mean, I'm not even joking. He probably has like a 2 millimeter width in his arms and legs. Like he's the only figure he could never stand without the stand he comes with. Literally, to call it an action figure is a stretch of the term for sure.
I think even Sally would be hard to do because like she's tall and her feet are so tiny. Like she has these tiny little feet. Yep. So it's like they're like Oogie Boogie you could do probably.
Yeah.
But like he's so girthy. Even then he's got those little pillow feet. I don't know actually. Because Tim Burton, like they all have little feet. They have he loves little feet. So that's the thing. Even though I'm saying, I saw the Nightmare Before Christmas, Super 7 Ultimates. Like I need to get those. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. I love, the Turtles Ultimates. Like a month later or something, or later that month, NECA showed off they're doing Jack and Sally Ultimates too, and they look better and they're going to be cheaper. Like I kind of just decided, you know what? I think I'm just going to get the NECA ones. They're probably going to come out sooner also because NECA doesn't take as long. So it's like, I think they're not doing Oogie Boogie. I think only Super 7 is doing Oogie, which sucks because I would like Oogie Boogie. But
I mean, they haven't done him yet. He's going to come if NECA's doing the line. He's going to come.
Yeah. If NECA's doing Jack and Sally, like, they're some of the most marketable characters of all time. Like, if they put them out, everybody's going to buy them. Every goth girl is going to buy them. Everybody's going to buy. I'm going to buy them. Like, everybody's going to buy them. And if they sell that well, then they're going to do Oogie Boogie and the Mayor and all those characters. So it's like, I'm just going to get the NECA ones. I don't think I'm going to get the Super 7 ones at this point. So also, the Super 7 ones used a lot of soft goods. Like the Jack was like, again, he looked like a doll. Like he was just all soft goods to cover the joints and stuff. And I get with characters like Sally that helps a lot with the articulation and making the dress like soft goods. We'll see. I don't know exactly what NECA's doing. They did very theatrical screenshots of them with lighting and stuff, but they looked amazing. But anyway, that's getting onto a whole other topic. So let's, I guess, wrap up our thoughts about Super 7 so far. I know we had a lot more to say. We wanted to rank our top 10 favorites and stuff, but there's just so much
getting away from us pretty quickly here. So we'll definitely hit Super 7 again. But like I said, I guess my final thoughts, going into this year, like I said, Super 7 was definitely my favorite toy line, my favorite company. I loved how I could just pre-order them and I knew they'd show up. There was no hunting like there was for NECA. Coming into 2023, I feel about the opposite. I feel much happier with NECA at this point. They're definitely, the way I see things, NECA has taken all the feedback and improved, whereas Super 7, like I said, I just think they're juggling too many balls and something's going to start falling here soon. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not saying the company's going to go under. I'm not Nostradamus here or anything, but something is going to get scaled back. I just can't see them continuing to operate the way they are another 5 years from now. Yeah.
And I'm basically the same issue, honestly. Like the first half of this year, Super 7 was my favorite. I even said I did like a whole video, one of my hypothetical videos where I was like, this is my dream collector line. It was like the Maverick boss characters from the Mega Man X games, and I went nuts and drew prototype pictures of them and all this crap. Just to let anybody know that's not real. I'm not actually making those. But in there, I said I'd want them to be styled like the Super 7 Ultimates because I said those were my favorite modern toys, like you. And now I'm more in the NECA camp now than I am Super 7. I'm not saying I love their figures. They look amazing, but they're taking so long and they're costing more and more and they're having a lot of issues and there's even stuff I didn't touch on. Like I think they're overly packaged just to add price. I don't need that. I could just do what Boss Fight Studios did with their Bucky O'Hare toys where it looks like a blister bubble, but you just slide it off and take them out. So you can always put them back in. That's everyone should be doing that packaging.
Yeah.
I think Motu Origins did that for the collector box set of the different He-Man variants. But
I think you're right on that one. I think you could slide the file card in and out. I'm pretty sure on it too. Yeah,
that is an ingenious idea. Everyone should be doing that. But
exactly. And and again, not to get too far off topic, but Todd McFarlane did that when he first came out with the Spawn line. Like
Exactly,
that's
yeah.
not new things, you know what I mean? That worked then, it works now.
Yeah. Super7, I've watched a lot of interviews with the guys, and they seem like real cool dudes, actually. They seem like,
again, I have no personal beef with any of these people as humans. Again, the one thing YouTube has showed me is people on the other side of the screen are actual humans. You know what I mean? Like, I am a person. I have feelings. Like, I don't just disappear when you don't see me on YouTube. You know what I mean? I have no beef with Brian Flynn as a person or any other people.
Awesome
like,
dude.
They seem like nice dudes. Exactly. Like, no ill intent to them personally. Like, it is just the business side of things that I have issues with. It's not personal. It is business.
Yeah. It's a bit too personal for them because they're just making what they want to make. And I think that's cool. I love people making what they want to make. It's one of the reasons I'm so happy making my own game, not under a studio or something. I get to do whatever the hell I want, and no studio head's going to tell me, oh, I don't like that. Take that out. Change that. That's not going to sell as well. Change to this. But when you're doing something that's not your own, it's Turtles, and there's an expectation for it. One of the sculptors in a video, straight in an interview, like I think last year, straight up said he hates Pizza Face. He's never doing Pizza Face. And he said he's never doing Tattoo. And, a lot of people want Pizza Face. He's actually one of the most requested in the line because he was such a crazy figure.
So there was a time for a while, real quick, where anytime I would look at anything posted by Seven, the same dude was in there every time, Pizza Face. Every post ever from Super7, this dude was in there, Pizza Face. Every single time.
Everyone wants them. There's some people who are like die-hard pizzas. I think everyone wants Pizza Face with the prototype like twin head on his
baby
head
on top.
Yeah, everyone finally wants to own that. And I get it. I would love Pizza Face was never one of my favorite characters, but I would love to get him because he would just make such an awesome gross sculpt.
And dude, I feel like he has the most potential for me to go from a figure that I don't really like in the Playmates line to a figure that I love in the Super7 line. I totally agree with you on that one. I feel like they could really bring that one out.
They could. They definitely have the potential. He's almost more like a Toxic Crusaders toy than he is a Ninja Turtles toy, really. Not to get too caught up on a Pizza Face, though. So we just want to wrap this up. Like I said, we have a lot more to say about Super7, but this could go on forever. I think we got the general gist down of what we wanted to say. Super7, we love their figures, and we have a big problem with their figures.
Yeah,
simply put.
The one thing that you just reminded me of real quick that I don't understand how we just went over an hour and I never once brought up the 4 Horsemen, but all the credit in the world to those guys. They are really the magic behind those lines. And
they're the best sculptors in the business.
Yes, exactly. They are the best sculptors far and away. I'm pretty sure they still do things the old school way. I'm pretty sure they are still hand sculpting stuff.
Oh, they are. Yeah, I think so.
And I mean, that is really the beauty of this line. And again, I know Super7, they are your figures, but I just really want to shout out the Horsemen. Like, they are the people that, again, really we owe the credit to for how beautiful these figures look.
Muckman would not be the masterpiece he is if the Horsemen weren't doing him. So, yeah, the Horsemen are they're just amazing. So,
yeah. So sorry I waited that long to give you guys credit, but
yeah, credit where the credit is due. But I'm just staying hopeful that Wave 9 is a sign of things to come, and they're learning the lessons and they're improving the line. So
I'm hoping so too. I got a little bit of faith that they're going to turn it around. The only issue is you just got to fix the QC stuff because again, a couple bad waves.
It feels like they're getting there. It feels like they're going to get there.
So we'll see. We'll get some Wave 7 figures in hand. 2024, we'll find out.
When we're old and gray, we'll come back and tell you. All right, signing off, guys. Have a good night.
All right, take it easy, man.
Peace.